What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mover Mailbag. Sorry there was no Mondays with Mover this week. It was the end of drill weekend. This weekend I was out flying the T-38 and got back late. Didn't have time to make an episode about how we deal with emergency procedures, but that'll be in the future. Actually, coming up this week, tomorrow actually, or today, depending on when this is uploaded, I'm going to Track Night in America, which is a SCCA-sponsored event at the road course there at NOLA Motorsports Park, taking the Camaro ZL1 out to drive it. So that'll actually be the next episode. I'm really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. On today's episode of the Mover Mailbag, I got two questions from readers, viewers that pretty much along the same line. So I'm going to read them as I do before, and then we're going to talk about kind of what the bottom line is. They're both very similar, actually. Almost the same question. So the first one, getting right to it, comes from Jonathan. His subject is flying, which is appropriate. Hey Mover, I'm currently a senior in high school right now, and I'm going to do ROTC next year at my local college, and currently I've racked up 10 flight hours. Good on you. That's good. I just watched your recent video with Deuce and his story from ROTC to F-16 weapons instructor pilot, and I've watched all your videos on becoming a pilot. I want to say thank you for giving me the inspiration of this lifelong dream of becoming a fighter pilot into a realistic goal for me to achieve. I have a heart of a lion, so I know I can do it thanks to you. I have one concern, however, and that is I suck at math, and I'm wondering how much will that affect me in becoming a pilot. Again, thank you so much for your videos to inspire people like me to help reach their goal. With best regards, Jonathan. All right, that's the first question. I want to read both of them because they're almost identical. Second question comes from Max. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on your time zone. My name is Max, and I'm currently a senior in high school. My ultimate end goal in life is to fly fighters. However, I really don't know what is the best way for me to accomplish this goal. My grades certainly are not the best, and I struggle with math constantly. What would be the best path for me to take to commission with a pilot slab? So, common question is, do I have to be good at math, specifically to be a fighter pilot? I don't know where that misconception has come from, that it's math intensive. Probably from the days prior to E6Bs and everything was hand calculated and stuff like that. Basic addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. That's really all it is. There are some formulas every now and then, maybe some basic trig, when you start talking bombing triangles and stuff like that, but there's not a lot of math involved in being a fighter pilot. It's less about math as it is logic and understanding rules and how to apply the rules, like training rules, AFIs, Air Force instructions, NATOPs, stuff like that, and spatial orientation and being able to memorize numbers, for ranges and stuff when you do certain actions, stuff like that. But as far as actual math goes, it's not really a deal breaker to be bad at math. It's something that can be overcome with time and practice and stuff like that. I'm not saying blow off math altogether. It's an important subject. I'm just saying, just because you're bad at math in high school doesn't really affect. I was terrible at geometry when I was in high school, and my geometry teacher said, "Oh, you'll never be a pilot. You can't do geometry." I'm like, well, okay, yeah, here we are. So it's not that big of a deal. As far as grades go, that's something, there's no real advice for that. You just have to study. You have to buckle down, you have to try harder, and you have to do your best. High school grades mean very little in the long run. Now, granted, that's what's going to help you get an ROTC scholarship if that's the way you go. That's what's going to help you get in the Air Force Academy. But if your grades aren't great in high school, you can still go to college if you have the means to do so, get good grades in college, and no one will ever look at your high school GPA ever again. It's not that important. So, and it'll have no effect on whether you get a pilot slot or not, as long as your college GPA is high enough to get the slot. Once you're in pilot training, zero. Your grades in college don't matter, your grades in high school don't matter, because it's all about how you do in pilot training. There are academics in pilot training, and again, it's not entirely math intensive. In fact, I don't remember anything being that difficult. I mean, maybe some some instrument stuff or stuff like that. But it was really, really simple stuff you could do, on a scratch piece of paper, very easy. So I really wouldn't worry about the math part if that's what you're worried about. Now, to answer your other question, and this is a very common question of what would be the best path for me to take and where to start. One of the things about being a fighter pilot is you got to be able to take the initiative. You have to be able to do things on your own and not rely on other people to give you the answer, because you're not always going to have that available to you. So I'm going to put 3 websites here on the screen. One is flyingsquadron.com/forums, which is a military aviation forum. It used to be called baseops.net. It is probably the best source of information I've found, because you can ask real fighter pilots, flight docs, all that stuff. Read before you post, but do the research yourself. The second one, airwarriors.com, that's kind of the Navy version of baseops.net, so it's more Navy OCS, Marine Corps OCS, Marine Naval Aviation related. And then bogeydope.com. Those 3 websites should give you a good starting point. The reason I bring that up is because I get a lot of questions from people asking me the exact same thing over and over. And while I appreciate that you are taking the initiative, I'm not the be-all, end-all answer. You're going to have to do the homework yourself and not expect someone to give you the answer. And that's just going to be expected from you for your entire career. It's not, trying to be mean or anything like that. I don't have time to personally mentor everybody that emails me. And what's more importantly, when you get the information on your own, you'll have a better idea of what's current, what's old, what's good information, what's bad information. The more research you can do on your own, the better off you're going to be. So I recommend going to those 3 websites, doing your own homework, and if it's something specific that maybe hasn't been answered, by all means ask away. But if it's something, especially when you go to like baseops.net or whatever, read the forums first, do a search, make sure somebody else hasn't asked your question already, because there's nothing that's going to get you, people will have less respect for you if you're asking the exact same question that someone's answered a million times over, because it just shows you're lazy. It shows you don't have the initiative to do it yourself. So that's my recommendation. Also, if you do end up messaging me, just ask the question. I get a lot of people asking if I have time to chat. The answer is no, I don't. I'm sorry. But I will answer questions time permitting. So just ask your question. I'll be happy to help if I can, but I don't have time to chat. It's just not something, with flying, military aviation, civilian aviation, law enforcement, writing books, all that stuff. I'm sorry, I just don't have time. So anyway, not to discourage you, if you do have a question for the Mover Mailbag, please send it. I hope this answers it. Bottom line, do I have to be good at math to be a fighter pilot? Not necessarily. Standard fighter pilot answer, it depends, but you don't have to, having a C or a D or whatever in a couple math subjects isn't a deal breaker, as long as eventually you can understand it and do basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to send me something, cwlemoine, cwlemoine.com. You can reach me Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at cwlemoine, or mail me something, which is cool. Those are more interesting sometimes. CW Lemoine, P.O. Box 8594, Mandeville, Louisiana. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the next episode with the race cars, and I will see you next time.